Hi, my name is Lupe Romero. I just turned 50 years old and on January 11th. And in February, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I am living with pancreatic cancer and taking one day at a time. And I just want to record my experience and share it with other people and especially with my family. Last year I kept, well actually for the last 2 years I wasn't feeling right. I just kept getting sick. And then in May of last year I had a hysterectomy which relieved some of my symptoms. I had started getting little seizures and just feeling strange. And then after my hysterectomy last year I thought, okay, this is it. Now I'm on my road to recovery. And then 3 months later I started getting sick again and getting frustrated. Since I had just turned, then in January, since I had just turned 50, my sister and I decided we would do the Los Angeles Marathon. It would be marathon number 11 for me and I think number 5 for my sister. So then I started training and I noticed that every time after I train I'd get sick and I'd get really frustrated. I commented this to my brother Tino. And then I was sick during Thanksgiving, then I was sick during Christmas, and then in February I was sick again and I was getting frustrated. Working in a hospital, I thought, okay, this is my 5th round of the flu. And then I commented to a coworker of mine via email. I almost wasn't going to mention to her because I didn't want her to think I was a big baby, but she had asked me how I'd been feeling, and then I just said, okay, well, I'm sick again. And then she commented, well, you know, you've been sick a lot. What are your symptoms? And I said, well, I have a lot of, I said, maybe I have the stomach flu. I have this unbearable itching. It's just this unbearable itching underneath my skin, especially the palms of my hands and the soles of my feet, but all over. And I'm also, I told her I'd been urinating the color of beer, and I'd been getting extremely tired. By the way, this is my friend Sherry Novelli, a coworker. And so and then she emailed me and she said, you know, Lupe, this is like really serious stuff. You need to be seen by a doctor. And I kind of hesitated. And so then that week I was at work and I made an appointment with my doctor. On a Wednesday, my doctor saw me. I had a lot of itching. She gave me a Benadryl shot and then she ordered extensive lab work. So then I continued to work, and then by Friday I gave the office a call to see if they've received my lab work, and then I left a message, and then my doctor called me back and she said, Lupe, you've got to go to the emergency room. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the emergency room because I didn't feel really sick and I didn't want to be there, you know, all day. But she says, you really need to go to the emergency room. So I work at Mission Hospital in the imaging department. So then she says, well, let me just order an ultrasound and let's see if anything's going on. So I'm like, okay. So then I walked over to the ultrasound department and they did an ultrasound. And they thought maybe I had a gallstone, or there was something on the ultrasound. So, and then my boss came and she kind of walked me over to the emergency room. And while I was in the emergency room, the ER doctor saw my lab results, and then he said, oh, you most likely have a gallstone. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm a very calm, patient person. I don't like to panic my family. So then I called my husband, because normally my husband drops me off at work and then he picks me up. So I called my husband to not pick me up. I told him I was in the emergency room. I most likely had gallstones. He knew that I hadn't been feeling too well. And so he said, okay, you know, let me know when they admit you. And I called my son, you know, my sister, called relatives and said I'd be in the hospital overnight, no big thing. I called my mom, no big thing. So then I was admitted, and then I was told that on Saturday I was going to have an ERCP because the ultrasound showed a gallstone right near my gallbladder. So the next at like midnight or 1 in the morning on Saturday, I was taken down to my department to have a CT. So I had my CT, the doctor comes in, Dr. Reddy comes in the next morning, and then he's explaining the ERCP to me, and he asked me if I had a CT, and I said yes I did. So while he and I were in the room, then he pulls up the CT, and then he says like, oh, this is not good. And I'm like, oh, what's not good? And then he says, you have a mass on the head of your pancreas. It could either be malignant or benign. So when he said that, I kind of like thought about it, and I knew it could be something serious. So the first thing I did is I called my brother Tino. I'm sorry, I called my brother Jesse. He's 1 year older than I am. My brother is born again Christian, and I admire him very much. He's very spiritual. Totally love him. And I told him, that there was a possibility that I might have cancer. After that call, I called my brother Tino, and my brother is very logical, and he thinks things through. And I knew that I needed these strong people by my side. I also needed my sister, but she was in Vegas, and I didn't want to worry her, so I didn't call her. And then I didn't call my sons. They knew that I was in the hospital, but I didn't want to mention anything about cancer until they were there in the room. Then my daughter-in-law Christina came. She's married to my middle son Richard, and then I told her, it could be something serious, and then she called my son Richard, and then he came to the hospital. Then my mother came to the hospital, and then we told her, and we told my son Louis that it could possibly be cancer. And then we told my niece Veronica. My sister was away for a couple more days, and then then I had the ERCP was performed, and Dr. Shaban performed the ERCP, and I know these doctors are really nice to see me in the hallway. I've been at Mission Hospital for a little over 10 years, so I know a lot of people across the board from administration to housekeeping. I have wonderful friends there, wonderful co-workers and colleagues and friends. So then when the ERCP was performed, Dr. Shaban told my family members that it wasn't a gallstone, that it was in fact pancreatic cancer. And so my family didn't want to tell me. I kind of knew. I already had a feeling that it was something serious. Something just told me. But then the surgeon was called, Dr. Shaver, and he came in to explain to me. And my sister and my niece Veronica were there. And then he was starting to explain to me about the cancer and that he would have to perform surgery. And that was my first breakdown, because I hadn't broken down. I've never been afraid. I'm not afraid even to at this point. But I think the reality of it. So then he was starting to explain to me about the surgery, but then I kind of broke down. I said, no, my sons and my husband need to be here. And so my niece ran out to get my 3 sons and my husband. As Dr. Shaver was explaining the surgery and the pancreatic cancer, I just totally broke down, and my boys broke down, and my husband broke down. We had a really good cry. And so once we let the emotions, clear, and then, it's okay, just like I always feel like I let myself, when I come across stuff like that, I feel like I let myself fall to my knees and then allow myself to sit there as long as I need to. But then it's like, okay, it's time to get up, brush the dust off my knees, and what's the next step? So then we were ready for surgery. And all of my family members were called. And then my sister drove back from Vegas, and she came straight to the hospital, and I was trying not to scare her. And the one day she comes back, they did the after she came back the day after they did the ERCP, and then I'm vomiting all this bile, and I was like, oh great, I don't want to panic or scare my sister, and here I am vomiting all this green junk. I look like, scary. But she handled it fairly well, and I'm sure that, like she said, when she got to her truck, then she just, totally, it really hit her. But, so I was admitted. I had the attempted Whipple procedure. My doctor, Dr. Shaver, was 90% sure that he could remove the pancreatic cancer because I'm young. I have a great family support group. I'm very positive. I don't have any health issues. I've never smoked or drank. Like I said, in '99 I started running marathons. I thought I'd try one for the first time. My son was a private in the Marines, so kind of helped me deal with his being gone, because he was so young and I missed him so much. And so it kind of gave me something, for he and I to have in common, to talk about like the miles that I've ran. So then after that, I thought I'd try one, and I ended up running 10 marathons. So anyway, I'm fairly healthy, and so when I actually was ready, for my procedure, and I was taken into surgery, and like I said, I was told it was 90% chance that the cancer would be removed, and 10% of the unknown, and you don't really know until you go in. So the doctor performed the surgery, and what happened is that, he cut me completely open. I have this huge, like, shark bite scar on my abdomen, and so he went in, but the darn tumor, the cancer, attached itself to the the mesenteric vein that goes to the heart. So then he couldn't touch that. Otherwise, I would have bled to death. But he tried. He's a really good surgeon, and he tried. So, of course, being asleep and out of it, my experience has not been bad. But when I think of what my family went through when the surgeon came out and told them that he could not remove the cancer, when I think about that, I get really emotional, because I would never want to cause that sort of pain to my loved ones, especially my sons and my husband. But unfortunately, they had a horrible experience. So after my Whipple procedure, I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and it was an awesome experience. I was in a place where I work. I knew all the nurses. My nurse that second night was a coworker who was a receptionist in our imaging department, and she went to school to become a nurse, and she was graduated. We graduated together last year, and she was my nurse that night. I'm not a nurse. I just went back and got my AA, but we were in the same graduating class. So, but from the time that I was admitted, my faith is so strong that I just felt like I was in a cradle. I mean, I just felt so fortunate. I felt so loved, and I in complete trust. I love God. He's number one. I mean, He's the reason I live, and all of the people that I'm connected to are the reason I live, because God is love, and all these people were connected, and love is what connects us. So I didn't feel afraid. I'm still not afraid. And so I was in the hospital 2 weeks after the attempted Whipple procedure. Then I came home and healed from that. And I'll continue with my diary, because there's so much I want to share, and I want to get my thoughts together. And I'm living with pancreatic cancer. I'm on chemotherapy. I'll go into more detail on my next video. I was on the less progressive Gemside, and then now I'm on the more aggressive. It's a multi-chemo. I think it's called Filforno. But anyway, I feel great. I look good. I don't even look like I'm sick. People that I just went back to work last week, so people at work are just like surprised. My doctors are surprised that I'm handling the chemo so well. My hair was longer, but I cut it because I was told that I'd lose my hair within a week after starting the multi-agent chemo, and I still have my hair. And I also was told that I'd be very sick, that if I needed a nurse to come and take care of me, my insurance would provide me with that. But I haven't needed a nurse. I actually feel better than I have felt in so many years. And I'll be back, and I want to share my experience with this, and give hope to other cancer survivors, especially pancreatic cancer, since pancreatic is so aggressive and not that much research is done for pancreatic cancer, and 85% of people with pancreatic cancer end up not living. So, but I'm unique, and I know that I'll get through this, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.